Good afternoon. It's September 22, 2024. We're critiquing the news. The article on your screen is from the Sunday Mail and it's titled, "Biden Still Totally on Top of His Brief." Albo really is Australia's chief gaslighter, and it's not okay for the man that sits at the top of our federal government to be spreading disinformation to the Australian people. Not when he's trying to push through legislation that the LNP drafted that prevents us from sharing our opinion on the basis that our opinion could be wrong and therefore misinformation or disinformation. Anyway, back to Biden. The man the world knew as Senator Joe Biden hasn't been seen in public at any time during the so-called Biden presidency. We can be certain of this because human ears are all unique, and none of the masked body doubles who have played Biden have the same ears as the missing Senator Biden. Let's just jump across to a photo and I'll show you what I mean. This is the young Senator Biden. As you can see, his ear has a distinct detached earlobe. This is the old President Biden. As you can see, that's a different shaped ear and it has an attached earlobe. I've never heard of anyone getting surgery to have their earlobe attached. Have you? Alright, so there's that. Let's put that aside for a minute. So, this begs the question, why would the Democrats put a Biden actor with dementia on the debate stage opposite Trump to be destroyed in such a spectacular public fashion? The answer is twofold. The globalists running the DNC want to insult the Democrat voters, who they regard as the stupidest people on the planet, and they wanted to swap the Biden construct out for a different, even more insulting puppet. Look up the dog kings of Scandinavia between the 9th and the 14th century. That goes a long way to explaining why they put public figures in place to insult national populations, which of course you see here with Albo. You saw it with ScoMo. You saw it in New Zealand with that horse lady. What was her name? Jacinda Ardern. Macron in France. Trudeau in Canada. Starmer now in the UK. They're all cut from one mould. They're all there to insult the population. Anyway, because the Democrat voters really are the stupidest people on the planet, they all clapped like trained seals for Kamala when she was dumped on them, despite Biden having won the primary with 14.4 million votes. So the Biden construct was installed in a stolen election to serve as a focus for Democrat love and MAGA Republican hate, while the globalists behind the scenes undid Trump's excellent legacy, weakened the US, and impoverished the American people. We know the Biden character isn't running anything, as he spent 40% of his time dozing on the beach. He's there as a distraction and as a scapegoat. The man Albo spoke to would have been one of the four actors who have been playing the Biden role, presumably not the member of the acting team who, for credibility, really has dementia. That was the one we saw on the debate stage. Now, because Albo is also controlled by the globalists, he was required to come back to Australia and tell us how sharp Biden is. And indeed, if they had a sharper actor on the stage, Albo might genuinely have believed he was sharp. And this is why Albo said, and I quote, "History will record President Biden as being a driver of a very successful period in US foreign policy, even though war broke out between Ukraine and Russia, and the world has never been so unsettled, and China is on the brink of invading Taiwan, and we've got all that unhappiness and war in the Middle East after Trump got the Abraham Accords signed." Anyway, it was clearly one of the worst periods of US foreign policy, and we're expected to believe it was one of the best because Albo told us. Albo also reported that he's, quote, "very concerned about political violence with 2 attempts to kill Mr. Trump." It's the globalists who are trying to kill Trump because he is the most senior public figure to have openly discussed them and their hideous agenda for humanity. Albo also said, and I quote, "Democracy is something we can't take for granted. We need to cherish it. We need to nurture it." However, the US was deliberately constructed as a constitutional republic and not a democracy. Its founding fathers knew all about the inherent dangers of democracy. In a democracy, a brainwashed majority can vote to lock up anyone who disagrees with them, which is where Australia is heading with its misinformation and disinformation bill. A constitutional republic, by contrast, deliberately protects individual rights, because the individual is the smallest minority of all, and if individual rights aren't sacrosanct, then nobody has any rights. So they have the protected right to free speech, the protected right to self-defence, protection from unlawful search and seizure, and so it goes on. Have a look at the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the American Constitution. The globalists are trying to convince the stupidest Americans, the Democrat voters, that they live in a democracy. That's because they can remove rights, and that's what they want to do. The American tripartite constitutional republic and its Bill of Rights under its constitution are the main roadblock between them and their global one world, new world order government. So the stage is now set for the most important battle for the rights of the individual that the world has ever seen, but don't expect our Prime Minister to mention anything about that. Even if he was smart enough to understand it, he wouldn't be allowed by his globalist controllers to say it.